Yeah. Hello, good evening. Hello, we are live. Good evening. This is Focal Point. And this evening, we are going to be talking about Pastor David Ibiyeomie and Daddy Freeze's issue. I'm supposed to have two gentlemen in the house today. That is Mr. Leke Olorutoba and John Ozove from Abuja. Well, it looks as if network is not good enough for Mr. Leke to join us at the moment. And so I'm going to take on Mr. John first before perhaps Mr. Leke will find time to join us. Can you hear me, Mr. John?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Hello.
I can hear you loud and clear.
Hello, Mr. John, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me?
All right, if you can hear me, just give me a thumbs up so that I know you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Thank you very much. So here on Focal Point today, we'll be discussing the issue between Pastor David. All right. Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. We'll be doing justice to the issue between Pastor David Ibiyeomie and Daddy Freeze. I'm supposed to have two gentlemen in the house, Leke Olorutoba and Alabi John Ozove. Leke Olorutoba is having difficulty connecting due to perhaps bad network occasioned by bad weather. But I'll be taking on Mr. Alabi John, who wants to speak for Mr. Freeze. Daddy Freeze has been a thorn in the flesh of Christians and pastors, calling them all manners of name, not sparing their spouses either, However, as audible as some of his outbursts may be, many people believe that it is not justified as a Christian to have such an outburst as Pastor David made some few days back. Some say, irrespective of whatever the case may be, as a clergyman, he should be able to have some decorum. Before we proceed, I want to play just the video to show us some part of the outburst. So just stay tuned, please. Just stay tuned with us.
Never insult a father if you have a father. He has no father. Tell him, oh. Tell him. This is the last day he talks about Oyedepo again. He's a bastard. He's a bastard. Does he have a father? Who's his father? Let him show his father's picture. If he has a father.
Anybody that tells you that Jesus was not poor and Jesus was rich is a bastard. And he has used his left hand to describe his father's house. So he's what? A legal bastard. Your pastor is in the same financial place as your house girl. Write it down. Hey, what are you talking about? Let me shriek like he shrieks. I'm talking about the bald-headed fowl. What are you talking about? When this church made only 300 naira, were they there?
All right, Mr. John.
Yeah.
That was one of the videos by Mr. Freeze. However, I'm sorry I could not lay my hands on. I was asking for this particular video earlier on. I could not lay my hands on it before I came on set. Now, the whole crisis started when Mr. Freeze or Dr. Freeze countered Bishop Oyedepo's position on submission in marriage. Now, does Dr. Freeze have the justification to correct what a pastor who has been married for decades said on marriage? You know, he had issues with his marriage. You know, is it justified to want to correct somebody who has spent decades in marriage compared to him who crashed out of marriage? You know, is it justified? Over to you, sir. Can we hear from you?
Okay. Thank you for having me on your show. First and foremost, I'd like to say that you know, the two videos you juxtaposed, one is old and the other one is recent, right? So, and they are not really correlated. They are not the same. They are not of the same settings. Having said that, I want to say that Mr. Freeze has the right. He has the justification to counter whatsoever he believes that it is right, or I mean, it is wrong. Do you understand? Because we are human, first and foremost. We are human, irrespective of whatever nomenclature anybody has, whether you're a pastor in the church or you're an ordinary member or anybody on the street. You understand? So he has the justification to say, okay, what Daddy has said is right or wrong. And in this case, wrong. You understand? And I want to say that
Mr. John, before you continue, Mr. Leke has joined us. Let me bring him on.
Okay.
Can you hear us, Mr. Leke?
Okay.
Hello, can you hear us, Mr. Leke?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Okay. Mr. John, let me ask my question again. Lord, let me ask my question again. Or better still, let me just play a video so that I can start from you. Let me just play a video so that I can start from you. Just a minute, please.
Never insult a father if you have a father. He has no father. Tell him, oh. Tell him. This is the last day he talks about Oyedepo again. He's a bastard. He's a bastard. Does he have a father? Who's his father? Let him show his father's picture. If he has a father. A man who cannot marry. He has no wife. He can't manage his home. He's coming to talk on television. Is it not his wife who left him? Huh?
All right, Mr. Leke, are you there? Because I want to ask you a question. You heard what the pastor said. You heard what the pastor said, Mr. Leke. Hello, Mr. Leke.
Yes, I'm with you.
Okay. Now, was the outburst of Was the outburst of Pastor David Ibiyeomie appropriate, considering him being a clergyman? Does two wrongs make a right here? Mr. Leke, that's for you. Hello, Mr. Leke. We seem to be having problems reaching Mr. Leke, or maybe perhaps network. Now let me come before he joins. Let me come back to you, Mr. John. I just asked you. You know, all this crisis was because the bishop said that wife must be submissive to their husband, and I you know, I've been asking around. Do you think that Freeze has a moral justification, being somebody who has not been able to hold a marriage, to counter what the bishop who has stayed decades in marriage? Does he have the justification to do that?
Okay, now Mr. Freeze is not talking as himself. He is talking from the perspective of the Bible. So whether or not he has a fair marriage is not in play here. After all, we have some pastors who have fair marriages too. So are we saying that those pastors do not have a right to talk about marriages, of which they do? So I feel Daddy Freeze has absolute right to respond to Bishop Oyedepo in the manner that he responded, and they both talk from the perspective of the Bible. You understand? So I think he has a right to do so.
All right, Mr. Leke, are you there now?
Please just go on so that no need to play the video.
All right,
just
so now for you, Mr. Leke, do you think that outburst by Pastor David Ibiyeomie was appropriate, considering him being a clergyman? Because does two wrong make it right here now?
First of all, two wrong don't make it right. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
The outburst is okay. The outburst by Pastor David Ibiyeomie is very much online. Is okay. Is in line. Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you.
Now, if you listen to his comments, the outburst, listen to the last part of it. Mr. Williams, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you.
Yes, listening to the last part of it, he said, you have been saying this concerning my pastor. He said, you have been insulting my father. So that is not his first time. Are you with me? It has been in his nature to naturally insult the church of God and to insult pastors. Are you with me? So that was why at the latter part, Pastor David Ibiyeomie said, you have been in this habit. He said, let me quote him. He said, you have been insulting my father and people are laughing. So it's an accumulation of what? It's an accumulation of what Daddy Freeze has been doing. Are you with me? It is an accumulation of what Daddy Freeze has been doing. It is not only based on the immediate reply that the Freeze gave Bishop David Oyedepo. It is an accumulation of what Daddy Freeze have been doing. So it's in line. That outburst is in line.
All right, Mr. John. Now, what reaction do you have to say to that?
Okay,
what's your reaction to that?
First and foremost, I will say that the other video of Daddy Freeze that you played is an old video.
Yes,
so
that's
I expect that when this video was out, that is the right time for him to have responded to it. He shouldn't wait till another event happens. You understand? And in this particular event, Daddy Freeze did not insult Bishop Oyedepo. He didn't insult him. And before this one, there was another one that he made on on Bishop Oyedepo's reaction to Kama. So he also responded to him there too, before this one. And in these two videos, there were no insults there. And they were taken, this last one was taken from the perspective of the Bible. I expect that Pastor Ibiyeomie should have lectured Daddy Freeze on the Bible verses that he quoted and not to resort to the manner that he responded to him. It is unbecoming and it is totally disappointing, in my own opinion.
All right, we are having a bit of problem here because even viewers who are watching us, some of them are saying they are having a little bit issue with network. Perhaps the weather is not too friendly here, and that's why Mr. Leke is coming on and off, on and off.
Okay.
But let me put it to you. Let me put it to you, Mr. John. Let's look at it from this angle. Don't you think Pastor David, his response was an accumulated, one based on previous utterances of Mr. Freeze? Don't you think so?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Because you can't, because of something that had happened in 5 years' time, and come today to react to it based on another thing that has happened that did not relate to that thing.
But he's a human being.
I feel if he wants to respond to him, he said, "Come again."
Pastor David is a human being. Before
yes, absolutely. But based on the fact that he's a human being and a leader, he shouldn't have busted in the manner he did. He should have epitomized the character and this manner of and the manner of Christ. You understand?
Okay, now
And
hold on there.
to the fact that he did that on the pulpit is wrong.
Seriously, I am not
For me,
too happy
he
that
is wrong. Absolutely
I
wrong
am not too
to
happy
have
that we're
done what
having
he did.
problem with network. We're having problem with network around this part of the world. Now, but let's respond to a comment on the screen
Oh my
from
God.
Fanisi Babatude GCFR. He's saying
Okay.
that Pastor Ibiyeomie hasn't behaved Christ-like, that he is supposed to be
Absolutely.
led by the Spirit and not the flesh. Please, I want
agree with him.
comments. I want viewers to start bringing in comments so that we can discuss this issue objectively. I can see that Deacon Leke or Pastor Leke is trying to log in. The network has not been too good. Now, let me still take you on, Mr. John. Let me take you on.
Okay.
Okay, look, I think I've asked you that question. That don't you think many of Freeze's unguarded utterances were catalysts to the outburst from Pastor David? Now, so what do you think? Some persons are of the opinion that Pastor David should apologize. I would have loved if Mr. Leke is here so that he can listen to your response and then respond accordingly. But in your opinion, what do you think he should?
It's quite unfortunate that he's not here. In my opinion, I think Pastor David Ibiyeomie should apologize to not just Daddy Freeze. He should apologize to journalists. He should apologize to the people of Somalia. He should apologize to Christians. You understand? For taking them down. I mean, for how do I put this? For lack of better words, you understand? To tell them that he is sorry for doing what he did on the pulpit of God. It is wrong. So I believe I agree with you that he should apologize to Daddy Freeze and to every other person he mentioned, he berated in that video. I think he should.
Pastor Leke, do you agree with that? Can you hear me, sir?
In that video.
Pastor Leke, are you there?
Can you hear me? It's raining heavily here.
Do you agree that, let's look at the outburst. Let's look at the outburst of Pastor David. Let us look at that outburst again. I want us to get this right. I want us to be objective. Let's look at his outburst one more time.
Almost all the time.
Father, if you
I
have
can hear you. Can you hear me?
He has no father.
Can you hear me?
Get this
Tell him
right.
more.
I want us to be objective. Let's look at his
Tell him.
outburst one more time.
Sorry, Mr. Williams, can you hear me?
This is the last day he talks about Oyedepo again. He's a bastard. He's a bastard. Does he have a father? Who's his father? Let him show his father's picture. If he has a father. A man who cannot marry. He has no wife. He can't manage his home. He's coming to talk on television. Is it not his wife who left him? Huh?
right. That was the. It's unfortunate that network is a bit bad this evening. It's a bit bad this evening. And I wanted to take on Mr. Leke, where the pastor called Freeze a bastard. I wanted to ask if that was good enough, but network has not been too fair to us. Even our persons have not been able to send comments. Okay, let me bring in Mr. Leke. I think he's here now. All right, we've not been able to bring him. Let's just take one more commercials. If he's able to come on, we'll continue. If you can't come on, we may just have to move to another day. All right, thanks. We've been having network issues today, but at least we've really done justice a little bit to this particular issue. Mr. John, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Any final word? Any final word?
Okay. It's unfortunate that we couldn't hear ourselves, but I would have loved us to talk about the content of disagreement between Mr. Daddy Freeze and Bishop Oyedepo, which is what submission. Which is submission. Daddy Freeze did not just disagree with Bishop Oyedepo on the platter of false information. He brought. Daddy brought a Bible quote. Made a tweet quoted from Ephesians 5:22, and that the priest said, no, you cannot just read the 22 verse of the chapter. Let's start from 21, because that is where it actually started from. And what does 21 say? 21 says that both of you, husband and wife, should be submissive to one another. He said, husband and wife should be submissive to one another as they do to Christ. Then 22 and 23 now gave the aspect of the submission to the wife and the aspect of the submission to the husband. You understand? So you cannot just raise one of the verses and say, this is it. Because according to Daddy's tweet, he said that is the only thing, that's the only solution to a fruitful marriage, which is not true. If I'm submissive to you and you are not doing your part of the bargain to me, it may crash. The marriage may crash. You understand? So for submission, for a marriage to be successful, it has to be there should be submission from both the husband and the wife. Each person have their own portion of the submission. Wife should be submissive by way of respect to the husband, while the husband should be submissive by way of love to the wife. That is what the Bible says from Ephesians 5:21 to 23. And I agree with Daddy Freeze. If I want to advise everyone that disagree with him to listen to the video. I've watched the video from A to Z.
I'm sorry, we're having trouble with network. It's a general thing. Mr. Yeah, sorry, network has been very, very bad. It just cut me off now, and I'm saying that this has been a very, very interesting one. We'll get to come back some other time. We are very sorry. It's not our making. It's as a result of very bad network. Hook up with us. Our next guest is likely to be somebody from Kogi State government, a commissioner, followed by some politicians that want to come and talk about their aspirations for their people, their plans for their people. Until then, thank you for staying with us. Please bear with us. It's network. It's network. It's network. It's not our making. It's from the service providers. Thank you and have a wonderful weekend. God bless you. See you.